Now, let me talk about this accommodation issue in the Netherlands. Many people do not know what it takes to actually study here. I would like to say that, please, if you intend to study in the Netherlands this 2025 or moving further or 2026, make sure you get your accommodation before you come here. Now, this is genuine advice I'm giving you because I don't want you to be stranded when you get to the Netherlands. Do not leave. Please try as much as possible to get accommodation before you come. Now, this is my experience when I got here. When I got my visa from Benin, I had to move through Nigeria back to Cameroon. Then when I got to Cameroon, there was no money in my bank account again because I had given my school all the money that I had. Now, the next thing I needed to do was to pay my flight and my accommodation, which later on my flight was not paid by me, by someone. Then I moved here. The only money I came with when I was leaving Cameroon was about, I think, close to like 600 euros. Now, when I arrived here, I didn't know anybody. I mean, absolutely nobody. All the people I wrote, they ghosted me, which is fine. I understand people are busy because myself, I'm actually so busy. Now, when I got here, I had no option rather than to look for a cheap hotel. I didn't know any place. It was somebody who actually looked for one hostel, and that hostel I was paying, I think they charged me 53 euros per day, which I was there for about 3 days. Then after the third day, I forgot to actually rebook. You know, when you are new somewhere, it's going to be difficult. You have to learn some of their things slowly. So I had to rebook that day, but I forgot, and somebody had already took. In fact, somebody booked already. So when they informed me, I now asked them, where can I go or where can I locate another cheap accommodation? The only thing they found was below. I think there was one, they saw one hostel for 30 euros per night. Then they saw another place for 65. That was the cheapest, 65 or 30. The other ones were above 65. So I had no choice rather than to take that one for 30. It was more or less like a hostel. Those of you who have been to the dormitory schools, very clean, okay? It's not like our hostels in Africa. So I went there. Then I was in that hostel for 9 days. Remember, there you can only shower, you can't cook because there is nothing there. Remember, it's a hostel. So that 9 days, calculate 30 euros times 9, then calculate 53 times 4. I actually stayed 4 days the other way. Now you are going to see how much I spent. Then when I went to school on the 7th day, that was when I met somebody who told us that, oh, he got accommodation before he came. Somebody connected him and he got it before he came. Then he wanted to ask his house owner if there are still rooms available. So the back and forth, and we didn't actually get to the man. But I just suggested that it's better we follow him to his apartment so we can actually talk to this person, right? Because I didn't know who the person is. And when we got to the apartment, luckily we saw the landlord and there was one room. Now, these are rooms, they are not a modern type, but they are good and comfortable. So the landlord was like, there are some things they need to fix and a whole lot of stuff. Remember, I was already 2 weeks late for lectures, running into 3 weeks, and lectures had gone far. I mean, 2 weeks. They were already waiting for me. I was literally the only person who was still not in school. So, okay. Because of that front and back, we find the landlord said, oh, this is our rent, we have to pay a deposit and a rent. So there was no money enough on me, but I had to organize money. Someone gave me money, which I later gave back to him. So we paid. That was how I got my accommodation. Now, let me explain this to you. Now, when the contract was given to us, I now took the contract to the municipality. The municipality checked in their system to be sure of the accommodation. Then they gave me a tax number. They call it BSN. That's their first document in the Netherlands. Then, after that BSN, you will now open a bank account. Remember, your contract is the first, your BSN is the second. Now, you will now open a bank account using the BSN number. Without it, you can't. Then, after that, After that, I now, when the BSN number was given to me, I now had to open a bank account. Like I said, I opened the account. Then when the account was ready, I now gave the school, and the school refunded me the living cost. This is basically how it works here. And when the school refund the living cost back into your account, that is the only time. Remember, you still have a residence permit, but you don't really do much, because when you went to Benin, like when you are going to apply for the visa, the money you pay to the embassy, the visa fee, is also included in the residence card. The residence card is more or less like an identity card. So after like I think my permit came out, like, was it September or October? I don't remember. Yeah. So that was what happened, and this is exactly what you need to do. Now remember, without your house contract, your BSN number, your residence permit, your bank account, you cannot work in the Netherlands as a student. Not to talk of a visitor person, somebody coming for visit. You cannot work. Don't even waste your time. If you are coming here to seek Aduro with the visitor visa, then fine and good. But if you are coming here that you want to use the visitor VV to work, you are wasting your time. Okay, don't try it. Otherwise, you will be frustrated at the end of the day. So that's what happens here. I just say, let me inform you guys that the housing crisis in the Netherlands is so hard. Like, it's really real. Okay, and some of these guys on Facebook, they are just faking it. If you joke, there was, in fact, the hostel in which I was there with some other Africans, with some other European students. Then there was one guy who wrote me on my page one time and was saying that he is sent accommodation, because I was also in that group, Facebook group. He sent accommodation, and the people are saying that he should pay some money, and then when he gets to the Netherlands, the guy is from Portugal. I told him not to pay anything. Guess what? That guy was in that hostel. He actually saw me and recognized me, and even showed me the comments. So that's why it's always good to do good to people, because you never tell where you are going to meet them. I hope you get. So guys, also remember, like I said, the best form of accommodation is student hostel. Yeah, it's going to be expensive, because student hostel will charge you from 500 euros. And what they are going to say is you have to pay a deposit. And sometimes if their accommodation is 500 euros, the deposit would definitely be like close to 800 or 1000. So in total, you are going to give them close to like 1000 euros, okay, before you can enter into the student accommodation. Now, when you go into the student accommodation, at the end of the day, after each month, you are going to pay, let's say if they are charging you maybe like 1000 as deposit, or 15, then at the end of the day, you might be paying like 600 or 500, because the government will pay part. I don't really know how it works, but I know there are people who applied for the subsidies from the government, and the government is the one paying part of the money for them, right? There is a way they do it, but ask your school first. That's the first thing. Try as much as possible to get it from your school. Then maybe, because the school will give you a contract maximum 1 year. Now, when this contract expires, that's when you can maybe look for another option from outside, like you get an outside accommodation. Yeah, so it's very normal like that. So you can always get outside accommodation. But by then you should know the places to go, where to ask for those accommodation, and a whole lot of stuff. All right, so we've talked about the accommodation issue, and another thing you should note here is that I talked about the job issue before. Jobs here depends on the city in which you are, and also there are some smaller cities, there are bigger cities. A place like Amsterdam and Rotterdam, definitely there should be many jobs for international students. Okay, so you shouldn't expect Amsterdam to be like maybe Eindhoven or maybe or Utrecht. But of course, Utrecht is also a big city, but not that the bigger the city, the more expensive the tuition fee. I'm just making you see reasons with me that you should be choosing your priorities straight, so that when you don't get here, at the end of the day, you don't apply for a school and you cannot pay. No, that's not the way it should be. So please don't forget all these things. All right, now let me see. Okay, I'm still going to talk about some feedback from the Danish authorities. If you want to apply for bachelor's degree now in Denmark, yeah, there is still time you can apply. However, not that you cannot apply for masters. If you want to apply for bachelor's programs, check the University of Roskilde, check the University of Southern Denmark, and check Aalborg University. yeah, it's possible to apply for bachelor's now. And please do not forget that Denmark is also very expensive, and you even pay tuition per semester. It's not like in the Netherlands where you pay per year. But looking at the equivalence, how much you pay per semester in Denmark and how much you pay per year in the Netherlands, it's almost the same thing. It depends now on the level in which you are studying, right? I believe this is going to help you. I've talked about everything, so please put in your application and make sure your application is very strong, so at the end of the day you can move in. I want to see you in Europe next year, and I wish you all the best. If you have a question, drop it below so that I can find time to respond to it. And if you do need a call with me, please book from the video description box. Bye bye.